So I give it to her and she's like, you're so ungrateful. This is why the things happen to you. And I'm trying so hard to hold back tears. And they thought like just because like my mom was going through what she was going through that it was okay to pick on me. Hey beautiful, welcome back to my channel. And if you're new, hi, my name is Alexisjayda and welcome. Today's notification shout out goes to Patty. Thank you so much for all your love and support. Te quiero mucho. If you guys want to be part of the notification squad, all you have to do is just like this video, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment down below and you can possibly be the next notification shout out. So I'm really excited about this video, and to be honest, I've been waiting for a while. I don't know, just because I'm just like it feels so real now. So in my previous story time, I told you guys that my stupid stepfather threw away my Tweety bird that my grandma had gifted me. I shared this picture on my Instagram and you guys were so sweet and were like, Jade, we're gonna find this Tweety bird for you. And I just want to say thank you guys from the bottom of my heart and bottom of my soul. I was literally like, oh my god, when you guys sent me a link, purchased it, and I was like, oh my god, I finally found it. I could not find it for the life of me. I could not find it. I kept looking and looking and looking and I couldn't. I googled, I did all kinds, I could not find it. And it was so crazy that you guys were like, here it is. So a huge shout out goes to the Fambam Carmine. I hope I'm not butchering your name. Thank you so much. She sent me a DM and I was like, yep. Thank you so much. And I'm gonna show it with you guys right now. I'm so freaking excited because I have not opened it. It got delivered and I've just been looking at it and I'm like, ugh. And my husband's been like, babe, when are you gonna open it? When are you gonna open it? And it's just it just feels so, I don't know. It's like let me show you guys. So this is it right here. It's in this box. I can see the head. So this is how I packaged it. It's so crazy, huh? Where it's like something to you is like so important, and how someone packages it is like, mother. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be so crazy. I know to others, it's like, it's just a toy. It's more than a toy. It's my Tweety bird. Oh my god. I was really thinking that she wasn't going to work. I was like, I'm probably going to have to buy batteries. That's so crazy. This is her. Like, it's in great condition. Like, y'all, this is crazy. Look, she looks new. Like, she looks new. So this is the Tweety bird that I was talking about. Guys, this feels crazy. I have it. Oh my god, you guys see it? Oh, she doesn't fit. I got it. I want to put it back there. That is so that is so freaking crazy. So thank you guys so much. Oh, little Alexis screaming inside. She's screaming so loud. You just can't hear her. Look it. That is so freaking awesome. She's home. Oh, and then I had 2 messages from Fambam and they sent me something and they were like, check it, it's there. So I want to show you guys. It's my first time opening it, so I'm so excited. The first one, I know what's inside because she shared the picture, so I was like, let me show you guys. So this was sent by Fambam Cassandra. Look, y'all, look. If this ain't the cutest thing I've ever seen. That is so freaking cute, right? Oh, yeah, you can see my whole mess. I want to put Tweety Bird over here somewhere. I just have to clean. Don't look at that. But anyways, look at this. Thank you so freaking much. Look at it. How cute. I freaking love it. Look at it. Oh. The next package I received from Fam Bam, I sent this. From Leia. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. It says, I know this won't replace what your grandma got you, but I still hope you like it, from Leia. Of course I will. Let me open it. This is how it comes. Oh, it has it built in there. Okay, I'm like, that is cute. Because it shows on the outside what it is, you see? This is so freaking cute. Look, you guys. Can you guys see it? That is absolutely adorable. Ooh. Thank you so much to Fam Bam. Seriously, thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate you guys very, very much. Thank you. That's so cool. Hey, beautiful. Sorry. Okay, so I had to end the video. The baby, she needed me. I got a package today, you guys, and I'm like freaking screaming. So I opened it halfway and then I stopped because I realized what it was and I wanted to open it with you guys. So I got this amazing freaking package. This was sent from Sergio. So thank you so freaking much. It says, thank you so much. I'm going to keep your card. I'm so pendeja, okay? When I first opened it, I seen it like this and I was like, and my husband turns it around and he says, it says, thank you so much. I was like, oh, it says, thank you so much. So let me open it with you guys. Look. It's Tweety Bird. Look, guys, I have two now. Look. Isn't that crazy? Are her eyes different than this one? Their eyes are different. I'm gonna be able to pull. I'm gonna be able to tell them apart. So I got twins. Look. The three amigos just chilling. Isn't this crazy? I was like, what the fuck? Oh my god. Thank you so much to Sergio. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. This is, oh my god. Look. I'm gonna have two now. And you know how I like things being even? I'm gonna put one on this side and then one on this side. So y'all, I'm so excited. I feel so freaking cool. Like it's so cool because like they look different, you know? Like meet her eyes. Okay, and then look at her eyes. They're different. I feel so cool. You have no idea. I feel so freaking cool. I lost one and I gained two. I'm so excited, y'all. It is so amazing and such a blessing that I have such amazing Fam Bam like you guys. And it seriously just like warms my heart. Your guys' comments, your guys' love, your guys' support, and all of it. You guys are just so amazing. You guys spoil me. Like I got a gift from a Fam Bam that I will forever cherish. My sweater. My drinkity drink. Like, you guys are just so fucking awesome. You have no idea. So thank you. These are collectibles. They're up there. Can you guys see them? So I'm gonna have them up here and then I'm gonna switch it and put one here and put one right here. I just have to clean, so don't mind me. But I'm gonna put one here and I'm gonna put one here. So yeah, thank you guys so much. I'm seriously like so happy right now. Thank you guys, thank you. So let's begin. This is going to be continuing on my nanny series. Let me know what you guys are doing, what you guys are watching, what you guys are eating, what you guys are cleaning. I would love to know down below and all that good stuff. Sending you guys good vibes. Let me take the bad ones. Let me take them. take them and let me give you guys the good ones. And now let's begin. Today's my baby's birthday, Noah. Today he turns 8. So I'm gonna be getting ready so that we could take him out and spoil him. So if you guys follow me on Instagram, I did tell you guys that I did want to play with the new ColourPop package. This one is back in the saddle. Look how pretty that looks. Makeup makes me so freaking happy, y'all. So I told you guys that I will be playing with that one. You guys were like, yo. So let's do it. Boom. Keeping. Some asshole told me, ew, I don't like your intro song. I don't give a Keisha. I don't care. I don't care. I like that song. It makes me happy, and I'm gonna bing my way through the whole story time. Okay? It's like, you know, one of those people that just don't like happy. Like, why don't you like happy? Happy is awesome. Oh wow, like totally freaked me out. I mean, right on. I'm gonna have to take off the sweater, fam bam. It's getting hot over here, but best believe I'm gonna be wearing it at night. Okay, so we're gonna be continuing with the Nanny series where I left off. I went to sleep after giving Voldemort the backpack back, because people like that, they always, like, when they gift you something, they like to hold it over your head. I hate those type of people. I've dealt with some of those people as well in my grown age, and it's just annoying. Like, don't gift things if you are gonna be like, I bought you that, yeah, I got her that. Like, stop. Give something without having to hear like you being hyped up. Like, just gift it because you want to, not because you're gonna get something in return. That's not, no. If anything, that's a trade. You're gonna trade the gift for some compliments. That's a trade, okay? It's not what you're making it out to be. Quit. Anyways, so I wake up the next day and I noticed that my phone has been messed with. So I was charging my phone, set the alarm because I needed to be up before the babies, and I woke up and it was like messed with. You know how you can just tell, you know, if you're that type of person where you move something a certain way and you wake up and you're like, something feels different. That's exactly how I felt. Something felt different. It didn't, something was off, and I was like, someone messed with my phone. So I get up, check the time, and it's a little bit like in the afternoon. Holy I slept. I freaking slept. I was like, damn. So I get kind of scared because I'm like, oh my God, that means she's gonna be downstairs with the kids. She's gonna be the one to feed them. Like, it's just gonna be something else that she's gonna be complaining about. And I just did not want to hear it. I did not want to hear it. I did not want to deal with it, any of that. So I get up, hurry up, fix my little area, and then I head downstairs, and I notice that it's like super duper quiet. And I'm like, hello? Anybody there? Hello? It's quiet. Nothing. You know how you just know there's no one in the house? It's just like that kind of quiet. It was that kind of quiet. So I'm like, hello? Super duper quiet. No noise. And I'm like, something in my panza like just told me like, you got left. You got left. So I keep calling. No one's responding, and I'm like, okay. So I start to text Voldemort, and I'm like, hey, did you go somewhere with the kids? No response. Kids are not there, Voldemort's not there. And I'm like, okay, like low-key starting to freak out. So I start checking all the rooms, and I'm like, okay, hello. And then I hear the toilet flush, and so I'm like, did someone just break in to take a shit? So I'm waiting, and Sam comes out, and she's like, what? And I'm like, where's everyone? She's like, oh, they're out. I'm like, okay, like, why didn't you go? She's like, because I didn't want to, because they didn't invite you. I'm like, they didn't invite me. The peaches are back. So, let me do something real quick. Hold on. Just peachy. Oh. When I seen it, I was like, I gotta get it. I gotta freaking get it. She's like, they didn't invite you. I'm like, who didn't invite me? I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, peach. So I'm like, oh. So the peaches are back. So they didn't want to take me out to their dinner, them getting back home, their breakfast, whatever. So I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, it kind of hurt. Yeah, it did. I hated to feel like that. Like, it was just ugly. Like, it never feels good to be like left out or not invited. Like, you just feel like Faya, right? I'm like, okay. So I call Mr. Peach and Mrs. Peach, and I let them know like, hey, sorry I slept in. Mr. Peach is the one to answer, and he's like, you're fine, you were sleeping, we didn't want to disturb you. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, yeah, is there anything you need me to do? He's like, no, it's fine, like we're gonna be out. Pretty much like, go ahead, do whatever you want. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. So I just start cleaning up because there is some mess and I don't want them to come back and then be like, well, even though they already seen it, like still, you know, it's one of those things where you feel like you still have to like pick up even though you're not going anywhere. I just start to clean up and Sam comes down and she asks me if we're ever gonna talk about anything or if I'm just gonna be weird and act like nothing ever happened. And I tell her, I'm like, you can talk, like I'm not gonna sit here and waste my breath on anything, so I'm fine. And she tells me like, why are you like this? And I'm like what? She's like, just the way you are, like it's just really annoying, like when someone's trying to talk to you. And I'm like, oh, after you like did some shit, then like you want me to talk? Like that's weird. Like why do I have to be the one to say anything? Like that's just really weird. And she's like, well, you know what, I'm trying because I didn't go to like the breakfast and I could have, but I didn't because they didn't want to take you. And so I tell her, I'm like, okay, well, thanks for that, but you didn't have to do that. She's like, you see, like, why did you have to say that? Why do you have to say that? Why do you have to like say like you didn't have to do that? So I kind of did feel kind of cool and special that she didn't go. I know, it's so weird, like something so little after all the stuff that she did, and I can be like, oh, but it's okay because she declined going to breakfast. I don't know, it's just one thing just feeling cool having someone on your side where you're like, okay, you're not alone, but that's not okay. That's just accepting any type of like toxic behavior just because like they're nice for like that moment or whatever, you know, it's not okay. I just tell her, Sam, I don't want to fight. I just want to just have a you know, like a peaceful day. I don't want to fight. And she's like, okay. Just like super annoyed with me. My cramps are like very, very like intense and I just don't know why. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Like what's going on? I think it's just a mixture of everything, just having my period, them being back in town and just having to deal with like Baltimore, having to fight with her. Having that fight with her the night, I'm like, I just didn't want to stress and my stomach hurt. So I go upstairs because I'm about to change. I'm like, I have to change out and put on something new. I go to get the pads that she had gifted me and they're no longer there. Right away, I already knew that like, okay, she's being petty. She's being petty and that's fine because I was the one to give back the backpack. Like I just knew that like she was gonna be petty. It's stupid and it was dumb for her to be that type of petty, but that's just the type of person she was. It's very sick when you guys send me your guys's emails or when you guys comment down below and you guys can relate to having someone toxic like this because it's so sad. They come like a dime a dozen and I don't know what's wrong with these people. Like honestly, I don't know what's wrong, why they're so evil and why they do stuff like this. Like it's just very disgusting and you always want to give them the benefit of the doubt because there's sometimes that they do show like a sliver of like normal and just being nice, and then it's just so nasty how like they can just turn and be so sour and just rotten milk. Like they're just rotten, just disgusting. I don't even let it faze me. I go and I roll up that toilet paper and I noticed that I'm gonna be running low on toilet paper too. So I'm like where do I go? What can I do? So I go into the Peaches room to get more toilet paper that's underneath their sink because we didn't have any downstairs or anything like that. Like it was time to go shopping. So I was just trying to get toilet paper in their room. It looked really bad because I go into the room to get more toilet paper and who comes and sees me? Sam. So Sam's like, what are you doing in there? And I'm telling her as I'm holding the freaking toilet paper, like, oh, I'm just getting more toilet paper. She's like, but there's toilet paper over there. I was like, yeah, we're running low. She's like, why are we running low? And I'm like, because I just used the restroom. I didn't want to sit here and tell her like, oh, because I'm using it as pads because, you know, Baltimore's a bitch. Like I have to be careful because at the same time, I cannot complain so much about Baltimore because at the end of the day, that's Sam's family. I don't care what anybody says. You know what I really hate? When people get comfortable and they want to be disrespectful and talk about your family to you, about your family. Like it's different when you do it because that's your blood, that's your family, your people, whatever. But when someone else does it that didn't grow up with you and it's just like a stranger, you're just like, It's just very weird. It just is. it is weird. I don't know how to explain it. It's just one of those things where it's just like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Because it's just very awkward. Don't do it. So I'm having to explain to her, and then I just stop because I'm like, you know what? I sound real stupid just telling her like, oh yeah, like this, over explaining myself. I'm not gonna do it. So I'm like, you know what, Sam, I just needed the toilet paper. She's like, but what were you doing in there? And I'm like, go look. If you think that I'm doing something, go look. So I go into the restroom so that it looks like I needed to use more toilet paper right there. And then I stay in there for a little bit, and I can literally see her shadow underneath the door, like where she's just standing right there. It was so freaking weird. So I pulled down my pants and tried to go pee because it was just awkward. I don't know why I didn't just like open the door and, you know, just square up with her. I honestly can't. I can't give you guys a good explanation. So I start to finally pee, and she finally walks away, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, she bugs me. You know, that type of person that just needs to be up in the freaking mix, and there's no reason. There's no reason. Like, we're not the same cup of tea. Stop it right freaking now. I go downstairs. There's nothing left to clean. She asks me if I'm gonna, you know, go anywhere, do anything, and I'm like, no, not at all. She keeps trying to like make small talk with me, but I just don't want to like hear it. I'm not interested in having the small talk with her, and she's kind of getting the hint, but she honestly doesn't care because she doesn't stop. I make me some freaking coffee, and I don't know if it's because like I would see my mom, or if I would see my grandma, or if it's just because it's just mania, but when I would have a coffee, I like to smoke a cigarette. And where they weren't there, I was having a good morning where it was like, well, afternoon, no one's there, and I'm like, okay, like it was pretty all right. I wanted to have a cigarette. So I take my coffee outside, and no one is there, and I just light my cigarette. I swear it was like, as soon as I lit that match, it summoned them or something. I hear them pull into the driveway, and I'm like, so I put it out, and I just stay outside for like a while. I can hear them all coming in. You know how you can just hear kids storm inside? Well, they started doing that. I can hear just like them running in, storming, and I'm like, oh my God. So I stay outside for a good minute, and I eventually come inside. They don't really say anything, which I was really surprised that they were, you know, weren't gonna give me shit for it and be like, oh, Alexis, like what the heck? What are you doing? We've told you about the smoking. They didn't do any of that, which I was like very like, I was honestly like very like relieved. So they come in, and I noticed that there's someone missing. So I asked them like, where's Baltimore? Mrs. Peach is like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, okay. And Mr. Peach tells me that she wasn't feeling well, and that she was, you know, back at the apartment. And I'm like, all of a sudden now, since they're back, now she's gonna, you know, decide to F off. Great. So he asks me, how's everything? How was my morning? How was my sleep? I start apologizing right away. Like, I'm so sorry I slept in. He's like, no, it's okay. We just want to spend time with the kids anyways. Like, it's fine. And you and Sam, you know, could keep each other company since she's in trouble. And I'm like, oh. I was like, yeah, I thought it was pretty nice how I was trying to see what was the real reason. So of course I was gonna tell him like, oh, this is what she said. So I was like, yeah, I thought it was pretty nice that she said that she didn't want to go because, you know, you guys didn't invite me. And I kind of just smiled, and I kind of knew like my feelings were about to be hurt. And then he looks at me, and he was like, no, we told her she couldn't go. I make eye contact with Sam. She looks at me, and she's like, rolls her eyes. I hate when people act like they're doing something good and they're not. Like, bitch, you could not go. You weren't invited. You weren't invited. We both weren't invited. Like, the f you gonna sit here and try to get brownie points off me? Bitch, psh, please. I noticed Mrs. Peach does not even like, doesn't pay attention to me at all. Mr. Peach is acting like pretty like normal, and it's just like, tell me how it went and stuff. And he is just like super tan, okay, like super tan, where you could tell like he got a little burnt. And so I'm like telling him like, yeah, the kids were good, and we're just like kind of catching up. He's asking about my mom. He's being really nice, and it kind of just feels good just to have like a regular conversation. There's like no weirdness going on in that moment, and it's just like whatever. Mrs. Peach makes her way upstairs, and she like yells down that she's just gonna lay down for a little bit, take a nap. So he opens up the fridge, and tells me who was the one to go shopping. I tell him that it was Voldemort, that she went out and we got some stuff, and he's like, we don't need any of this stuff. Do you want to, you know, run with me to the store? I was so like in the moment of us just talking and having a good time where it really caught me off guard, and I was like, oh no, it's okay, I'll stay. And inside I was like, oh yeah, sure, let's go. But I don't know if it's like a guardian angel or something, but like the feeling just like went away real quick, where I was like, nah, almost got me there, freaking creep. Nope, almost got me there. So he like tells me like, I'm gonna take the kids, like, are you sure you don't want to go? And I was like, oh okay. Since he said he was gonna take the kids, I was like, oh okay. I don't know if he had said it because he was like, oh, I noticed that she got weird, or if it was just something that he just said, period. So I was like, oh okay. And then he was like, okay, like, let's get ready. I'm like, all right. We're getting ready to go out. Sam asks if she can tag along too. He says no, and she gets kind of mad. He's like, well, how come she can go? Like, she's not your daughter. And he like tells her like, I'm not gonna do this with you. No, like, you're in trouble, you're not going anywhere. And that she was pretty much grounded. She just rolls her eyes and kind of just like throws herself on the couch, and she goes on her phone, and he yanks that shit from her, and he's like, you're not gonna go on your phone. Like, don't think that I forgot. You didn't make it easy at all while we were gone, and you were just nothing but a hassle. Like, we couldn't even enjoy our time over there or be like in the moment because you were just chingan. And she was just like, ugh, like just rolling her eyes. She didn't want to hear anything he had to say. She was just like annoyed. She wasn't getting her way, so she didn't want to hear it at all. And that's just how she was. That's the type of person like she was. If you weren't saying anything she wanted to hear, she didn't want to have anything to do with it. I can't help but kind of like smile at her, and I give her a smirk. Yes, I was petty at times. Yes, I was just like a little shit. I know. I do not have shame of owning up to like the little like that I did. I know. I looked at her and I was like, even though it was like, okay, the dad's a creep, but it was just like, I wasn't smiling like, I got him. I was smiling at her like, haha, bitch, you're getting put in your place, bitch. Like, it was more of like that, okay? So I just look at her and I'm like, because she really annoys me. She really does. Like, it really pisses me off how she really thought she could just do whatever she wanted, and there was never like any real consequences. So he snatches that phone from her, and we leave. We get in the car, and it just feels like a really cool afternoon. Like, it's like no, I don't know, like nothing, like no drama, like yeah. So he's asking me if there's anything that I need in the store at all, and I'm like, no. And he's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, well, is there any way that I could, you know, get paid, like my check? And he's like, oh, what is it? Like, I can just get it for you. I was like, no, it's fine. Like, I just want to have like the check. And he's like, well, I won't be able to get it until like later, but here's like $10. Gives me the $10 when we're in the store. I go and I get my pads. So I go and get my pads, and I try and get in line, and I tell him like, hey, I'll meet up with you later, just so that I can hurry and purchase it and like tie it in the bag, because it's like embarrassing. I didn't want him to be like, what is that, you know? Finishes his shopping, we meet up, I already purchased it, I have it in the bag. He tells me that I could have just told him like he has no problem paying for it. And I'm like, no, it's fine. And he was like, when did you start? It could just be like an awkward conversation, but I feel like I was always super like, why are you asking me that? Why would you say that? Like, I think it's because I was very traumatized from a very young age. So I was really aware when like, you shouldn't ask that. Like, why are you asking me that? Sometimes it could be like innocent, but it's just like, why are you asking me that? That's weird. So I tell him like, oh, today. And so he was like, oh, dang it. And I just look at him, and he was like, yeah, like, dang it for you, because we're going to go to a birthday party and they have a pool. So he kind of was like, you know, explaining why he said dang it. So I was like, oh. I was like, yeah, it's okay. I don't really like swimming anyways. I don't like the way I look in a swimsuit. I was just having a conversation with him. It's not like I was like wanting him to be like, oh no, like you would look great. Like, no, I was just having a conversation with him. I didn't know how to always filter myself. And at that same time, I feel like I'm always over explaining, because I don't want someone to be like, you know what, you open the door for him to say this, I don't, so hard to be so open, because of course there is going to be like people to be like, well, you should have done this, you should have done that, like, I remember when I was open about like what happened with my stepdad, and I got blamed a lot for that. And I just couldn't believe half of the shit that I was reading, where I was like, y'all are sick. Y'all are the type to be like, oh, it's her fault when you have someone that's dirty. Anyways, he tells me like, oh, I'm sure you look great in a swimsuit. We should go try some. There's some right here. And I was like, no, like it's fine. He was like, what? Like, I'm pretty sure all the boys are after you. And I'm like looking at him like, if he doesn't like know, like what, you don't remember about Joe? You don't remember like what you, like all the, like what? So I'm just like looking at him, and I'm like and then he just stops, because I'm really just trying to be like, what y'all, like what is wrong with y'all? Like, are you guys just different people when you're around? Like, we go to the checkout and we're getting ready to pay all of that, and he pulls out his card, pays for everything, we bag it, okay, get in the car, and we're headed. He asks me if I want anything else, like, do you want to stop anywhere to look at anything? And I'm like, no. He asks the kids if they want to go to the park, they say yes. So we stop at the park for a little bit, the kids have fun, and me and him are just sitting on like the table. So he's on this side, I'm on this side, and I already was getting a feeling of like, ooh, this is kind of like weird, like just because I don't like that. Like, I like being able to like talk whatever, but I always get so scared, and it kind of, when something happens to you at a young age, you honestly feel like you just have a target on your back, and you feel like you can't talk to like a man too long, because something ill is going to come from it. And even if it's like this person is like innocent and they are not meaning it this way or that way, you in your brain will be like it just doesn't feel right. Even like a compliment, like, oh, you're so beautiful, it will feel so gross. And I don't know how to correctly like explain how it felt, but it felt like, okay, like that's it, like I just want to go home now. Like, I felt like weird that like we were out at the park, and I just felt like it was already like too long. Like, okay, I want to go home, because I didn't feel 100% comfortable, if that makes sense. And I didn't like how I was feeling. Like, I was just like, okay, like I'm done, like I want to go back home. So he is just talking to me some more about the trip, and I'm just trying to keep it very light and like not ask too many questions, because sometimes when I get nervous, I ask a lot of questions just to have the other person talking, just so the attention's not on me. And I hate that I do that. I try and stop now that I'm an adult, but I do find myself doing it when I get really nervous, and I don't, it's just because like I don't want you to ask me questions. I just want it to be on you. I feel weird. I'm like, I like oranges. Like, it's just really freaking weird. So he's just telling me how they got to go to some shops and some like cool little spots out there. And he's like making sure to tell me that like, yeah, but it was so sad, you know, like death is always hard. I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, yeah, like it really scares me. And he's like, yeah, like it scares anybody. And we're just like having a good little conversation. Phone starts ringing, and it is Mrs. Peach. She's asking where he's at. He says that we are at the park. She's asking how come Sam didn't go? Why did he just take me? And he's like explaining himself. Gets off the phone and tells me and stuff. It's so hard to discipline Sam, because when I want to put my foot down, then she wants to say something else. And I kind of just stay quiet, because I'm like, oh, shouldn't I be having this conversation? Because like, of course I wanted to be like, yeah, fuck that bitch. Ground her for life. I didn't want to make him feel comfortable where he could like vent to me, because there's no need for him to vent to me. He's a grown-ass man. There's no reason for us to be having that conversation about Sam. And he would do that quite often, where he thought just because me and her did not get along at times that he could complain to me about her. And he would sometimes be like, oh, it's just because like you're so mature, I forget that I shouldn't even be talking to you like this. And I don't know, like you're just so mature. And then at the same time he wanted to be like, act your age and tell me and treat me like weird. I don't know. The more that I like think about it and stuff like that, like definitely perv vibes, where he would act a certain way around other people because he knew like he shouldn't have been talking to me like this. He knew he shouldn't be saying these things. And then when we were together, or when we were like alone with the kids and stuff, like he would act like way different. And it's so disgusting to even say out loud, like so disgusting to say out loud. So I just made sure to like keep it light and like, oh, well, I don't know, because I didn't want him to feel comfortable and to give him the wrong idea, because at the end of the day, if anything were to happen, I would blame myself, because that's, even though it wouldn't be my fault, I would blame myself, because in a messed up way, you always tell yourself like, you know better. And that's not okay. It's never your fault when perverts go after you. It's not. But I'm just venting to you guys, like my journal. So we stay out a little bit later. We get another call, and it is Mrs. Peach. She's asking when we're gonna be back, and he tells her like, oh, we're gonna leave right now. So he calls for the kids and tells them that their mom wants them home. That, we don't want to leave. But he's like, yeah, but we have to go. So we go back home, and he asks me before we even get there, like, are you gonna stay with us for a couple of days? And I was like, oh yeah, like I was gonna ask you if that's okay. My mom should be getting out soon, and I don't really feel safe going to the other place that I was staying at. And he tells me like, yeah, it's fine. I'll talk to Mrs. Peach. I kind of figured that there was something going on, because usually you're so quick to leave. And I'm like, yeah, that's okay. And I was telling him because I could, you know, watch the kids more, or if there's other things that I could do around the house. And he's like, I'm sure we can find something for you to do. And I'm like, okay, great. Awesome. Conversation went great. So we get inside, and there are some plates out to eat. I'm already like, boom, counting. There's not enough for me. So I'm like, okay, she probably thinks like I'm gonna leave, that I'm already gonna like buy. And yeah, she did. There was already like my stuff like in a freaking bag that she had put my stuff in, where she was like, okay, like she was ready. Like she was just waiting for me to get back. So we get inside, and I sit right next to my stuff, because I'm like, I can see it. And I'm like, okay, that's my stuff. And he sees it. He tells her like, no, she's gonna stay a couple of nights. She asks why, like with attitude. She's like, ¿por qué? And he like tells her like, oh, because we need more help. And I told her that it'd be fine. She's like, when did she ask? And he's like, when we were out and stuff. She's like, oh, is that why she wanted to go? He's like, no, I wanted her to go. And it feels so freaking weird to be that person that you know that they don't want you around. You just know. Don't ever be that person. Don't. It is ugly. Ugly. I would watch this woman's kids. I would care for them. I helped her sometimes when she didn't know how to translate like the correct words, or she felt shy. There was so much that I did for this bitch, for her to act like that. And at the time when I was young, I really did not see it as like that big of a deal. I was like, well, yeah, like I'm invading, da 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 da. No. No, 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 no. Times a million. No. Like if I could go back and whisper in little Lex's ear, like, you're doing nothing wrong. Because I didn't. They wanted to act, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. They wanted to act like, oh, they're doing such a good thing by taking in like the freaking little hood rat and blah, 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 blah. But then make me feel so unwelcome at home. So unwelcome. It really disgusted me how they acted. And I think it was because like maybe she felt intimidated. Maybe I always try to justify, like maybe she thought I was gonna take him away or something in a sick way. Maybe she was just, I don't know. I don't know what the hell is wrong with her. Like when I look at the pictures, I look like a baby. When I share the pictures with you guys, like I didn't even have my kids yet. So you can imagine how even baby I looked. When I share the picture, when I give birth to Andrew, I look at my face and I'm like, holy, I was a baby. It makes me want to spit in these bitches' faces, because like, what the f was wrong with you guys? What the f was wrong with you guys? And I'm pretty sure it's because they were treated that way, and they were probably like, oh, if I got hurt, you gotta get hurt too. But it's disgusting. Like, when does it end? When does it end? When? Like, it's so gross. It's so disgusting. So they're literally bickering about me. He's telling her like, no, she's going to stay. Like, I already told her. Like, and he's like trying to be, it seemed like a good guy, because he felt like he was doing a lot of like, no, like she needs it. Like she does it great. I don't know if it was just like me in my head, where it's like Alexis, like he was being a good guy and I just can't give him the credit because like he's just like pisses me off. I don't know like what it was. I couldn't fully be like, yeah, you know, because I felt like there was always a catch. So I am just literally on the couch, and the kids come around. They're like, oh, you're gonna stay for a little bit? And I'm like, yeah, you know, just talking to them, acting like I can't hear what's going on a couple feet away from me. And so the kids are all excited, and they're like, you hungry? How are the kids gonna have more manners than your bitch ass? Huh? How are the kids gonna be sweeter, kinder than your disgusting ass? So they're asking me if I'm hungry, and I'm like, no, it's okay. And they're like, yeah, look. And I'm like, no, it's fine. I'm not hungry. And I could just see her glancing over at me, just like irritated that I'm even saying anything. Like, she probably just wanted me to just be quiet, but I really wasn't trying to be loud or say anything because I didn't want to upset her or anything. And I already felt unwelcomed. I could hear her saying like there's just too many problems, the Sam situation, that they're like, she needs that room. He's like, what do you need the room for? She's like, I just need it. So they're arguing about me staying in the room. He's like, it's fine, like she could use the couch. Like, what is the problem? Like, and it's just so awkward. It's so awkward just to sit there and just like listen to someone who like gives you like a weird vibe, like just stand up for you and be like, she's going to say. And it was just overall just very, very like creepy, weird, frustrating. And she eventually gets annoyed and she's like, okay, like that, like, okay. Like, she does not want to hear him. So they finally stop arguing about me. He asks me if I'm hungry, and she tells me like they only put out a certain amount of plates. He looks at her and he tells her like, yeah, I know. And I tell him like, no, it's fine. He's like, no, like, are you hungry? I'm like, no, it's fine. He's like, Alexis, are you hungry? I'm like, it's fine. And I'm literally like trying so hard to be like a tough girl because I am hurt, where I'm like, dude, like, what is up with her? She still has not talked to me, y'all. Like, has not talked to me at all. I don't know what the hell is going on. I don't know like what pissed her off. And it just really sucked when you are somebody who is deprived of like attention and love, that like when someone comes in a room like that, you're it does affect you. Like, you're just like, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? So I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm like, I'm gonna go upstairs. I'm gonna clean something. I'm making my way upstairs, and she like screams down like, Alexis, you're not staying up there. You're staying down here. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so I bring my bag back down, and it was just like, I was just trying to do something because I felt like awkward. So I put my bag by the couch and stuff, and I'm just sitting there as like they're all sitting down eating, and even Sam's sitting there, and I'm just literally just like sitting there. Like, I feel so awkward. I'm like, what do I do? Do I like go hang out with some friends? What if I do go hang out with some friends? Like, what if they're like, oh, you see, like, she thinks that she can go in and out of the house. Like, I literally was like, what can I do? What do I, like, how do I move? Because I felt so freaking awkward. I didn't know what to do. So they get finished eating, and I'm just texting on my phone, and I'm just talking to the ex and not really telling him much, but I just feel so weird, where it feels like I'm just there. Like, it honestly just feels like I'm just like a fly on the wall. Like, I'm just there. So they finish eating, and Mrs. Peach tells me like, Alexis, like, come help do the dishes. And I'm like, okay. So I get up, and I am like so angry at myself because I'm like, why are you gonna do the dishes? Did you eat? Did you? No. Is you staying here? Are you gonna be a 24-hour nanny? Pretty much. I am so annoyed that I have to do the dishes, and just like how she was like, I'm like disgusted because I'm the one who needs to stay here. And I don't have any other like place to go, and I start to get like very like upset, and it shows on my face. And I wasn't really trying to hide it fully because I was just so annoyed that this is the situation that I was in. I know people will comment like, girl, you wanted to be in that situation, or else you would have done. I'm not gonna go into the system. I'm not gonna do it. That would have been even a huge target on my back, I feel, because no dad, my mom was in and out of jail. Who's gonna give it down? Who? I feel like people are so quick to be like, you could have done this, you could have done that. Okay, but I didn't. And it's so hard always trying to justify my actions of like why I chose this, why I chose that. And I feel like I already beat myself up so much when I was young, and I do it now. Even you guys are so sweet, and you guys are like, don't be so hard on little Lex. It's so freaking hard because it is extremely triggering. And someone commented about, do I feel like my anxiety is getting worse as my kids are getting older because their age is around the age that like things started happening? Hell yeah. I look at my kids And I'm like, oh my God. Like when they hit a certain age, I'm like, this is when this happened. This is when this happened. This is when this happens. And it feels so crazy because when I look at my kids, I'm like, they are babies. How could my mom let me leave at that age? How could my mom? And I know it's not fair to blame her because she was fighting her demons and she was doing, you know, she was going through her own thing. What my stepdad did to me triggered her. It just sucks because I'm like, I never want to feel what she felt. I just wish that she could have fought just a little harder. And it's just so many emotions, y'all. Like so many emotions, so many things where it's just so hard because you feel like you're constantly trying to justify this or that. And why this? And this doesn't make sense. And this, why you? Why not you? And all of it. So I'm washing the dishes and she's telling me that like, why do I have that face? Like she's like so annoyed. Like, like, why do you always have that face? Like, what's wrong with your face? So I'm like, oh, you're finally talking to me. She's like, what? Like annoyed that was my response. And I'm like, yeah, you weren't even talking to me. And Mr. Peach walks in and he is like, yeah, you were acting like she wasn't even here. She's like, oh my God. Like she was getting so annoyed that we were both telling her the same thing. But it was true. Like, dude, it's so freaking true. She was literally acting like I wasn't there. Like it was so awkward, so weird. I felt like I was a ghost. You know, I really felt like, did I die? Did I die? Because I honestly felt like she wasn't like acknowledging me at all. It was so awkward. She gets upset. That's my response. And I'm telling her like, I'm just kidding. And she's like, no, you're not. And so I'm like, I shouldn't have said anything. Why do you do this, Lex? I swear you'd be setting yourself up. So I let her ramble on. He eventually just tells her like, yeah, because he gets so annoyed. But he did it really loud where it's like, you know, like dad voice, it was like there. Like dad voice was like, uh-oh, daddy's pissed, that kind, you know? So she just walks away. He goes upstairs, he comes back down and he has like a bag of dirty clothes and he puts them right next to the thing and tells me when I'm done to throw the load in, please and thank you. And I'm like, okay. So he tells me that I'm gonna be sleeping downstairs on the couch. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's fine. And he's like, I'm gonna talk to her. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, I feel even more weird being out in the open now that they're home. And I'm just like, okay. Sam asks Mr. Peach, like, hey, have you talked to Baltimore? Like, I haven't seen her all day. And he was like, oh, do you miss her? And he's like trying to be funny, but it really was like, that's so weird. Like, why did she disappear? And he just says that like she had her own thing to do and she said that she'd be back later. So we're like, okay. I say we because me and Sam were kind of talking about it a little bit because it was kind of awkward how she just like left. Like what was the reason? What's going on? What was happening? And she's pregnant. So it's the kind of thing that you do worry. We were like asking. He said like she just left. We're like, oh, okay. And so she asks me and stuff like, did I talk to her in the morning or anything like that? Did I by chance get to see her? And I'm like, no. And then she's like, that's so weird. She just left. I'm like, I know. Like I hope everything's okay. And she's like, yeah, me too. I got like a weird feeling. I'm like, yeah, same. I don't know why we both had the weird feeling. We both just had it. And it was just, I don't know, like an uncomfortable, like something's up because she would have been like right there, you know, even though she was so like rude and just very like disgusting at times. It was weird when she wasn't in the room because it's like it's too quiet, like something's wrong. Sam kind of helps me with the load and is trying to be like nice, so she puts the load in and I tell her like, oh no, like it's fine, I'll do it, I don't want you to be like, oh, I had to do it. She's like, oh my God, it's fine. So I'm like, okay. She tells me that I can sleep on her floor upstairs if I don't want to sleep downstairs, and I'm like, all right, I might take you up on that. And she's like, yeah, I figured you would. What happened? Right, to sleep on the floor instead of being like, we can sleep like your butt in my face, my butt in your face. So I was like, yeah, I might just take you up on that. The day passes and nothing like really like happens that's like really interesting, like, oh my God, nothing like that. Texting the ex and it's like, oh, nothing, you know, no biggie. Mr. Peach comes down and is telling us that we need to go to sleep early because we are going to a birthday party tomorrow. If we want to swim, we could bring swimsuits. And he like tells me like, but you can, Alexis, because you're on your period. I'm like, yeah, I know. So freaking weird how he said it. Like, I just didn't like it. Like, dude, I freaking know. He walks away. Sam was like, how does he know you're on your period? I was like, oh, because when we went to the grocery store, I bought pads. And she's like, oh, I'm like, I know. I don't know why he said it weird. I made sure to let her know too, like, I'm uncomfortable. And then you get to the point where you feel like if you over explain yourself, it's just like, what are you hiding? And I wasn't hiding nothing. I just was like, I didn't know how to move. When I see how other people act and interact with people, I'm like, how are you so lucky that you are normal? And you don't need to over explain. You're not overthinking. You are just so confident. And you're gorgeous on top of that. How? I hate that I over explain. I hate that I feel too much. And I hate that I hurt. Like, I hate that I have emotion. Like, I really do. Where I'm just like, damn it. Damn it, Jay. Damn it. The night goes on. Me and Sam, we kind of are getting along and watch a little Lifetime movie. Clean what needs to be cleaned, and she is ready for bed. It's on mine. So we go upstairs and I lay on her floor. You think this bitch was gonna be like, oh yeah, let's lay on the bed together? No. And what was so annoying is I could have still slept in the room that I was sleeping in, but Mrs. Peach is just such an asshole. She didn't want me in that room, even if it's like she wasn't using it that night. Mr. Peach apologized, and he's just like, I'm sorry, like, I don't know. She has plans for it, and I'm like, it's okay. And she heard him kind of explaining it to me. She screams out that she doesn't have to explain anything, that it's her house. And he kind of just like sighs and like just like rolls his eyes and just tells her like just to stop. Me and Sam end up passing out, and now it's the next day. I wake up early, help get the kids ready, help get breakfast ready, and it is just a fun morning, fun day. We're gonna go swimming and we're gonna go to a party, and I feel like a normal kid. It felt like I was waking up and I was in a family, you know? It just felt good. Baltimore was on my mind just because how we didn't hear from her yesterday. And we asked if she was going to, you know, be over, is she gonna go to the party? And they said that they still haven't really heard from her, and that she says that she's not feeling well. I feel like everyone was thinking it, but no one wanted to say it. I feel like everyone was thinking it, but no one wanted to say it, just because no one wanted to jinx it or anything like that. It just felt like everyone knew that like something was wrong, and it didn't feel right. We're getting ready and we're headed out. Mrs. Peach is still not like paying attention to me, and it was so freaking weird. Like, it was just awkward, and I really hated that like I was trying to make small talk with her and she would just shut me down. She wouldn't even like fully respond to me, and it was just I'd be like, oh, like, you look really nice, and she'd be like it was so weird. And I hated that I really wanted her to talk to me. Like, I really hated that like I needed her to say something back to me. I needed it, because I felt like a little puppy, y'all. I felt like, oh my God, she wasn't petting me. Like, I felt so weird. I don't know even how to explain it. And it felt like she was doing it on purpose in a weird up way. I'm like, I don't know why she's acting like this. Like, I don't know why she has to like make me feel like this. Like, it literally just made me feel so like awkward. We get to the party and I am told to like keep an eye on the kids. Wherever the kids are, I must be. And I'm like, okay, like, no big deal. Like, okay, you know? And in my head, I'm like, I'm just gonna pretend like they're my siblings, because pretty much that's how I was feeling. Like, I was a part of the family. I was in my la la land of, let's just pretend that these are your siblings. Like, why not? I go with the kids and Sam comes with me too, and we're kind of like getting along. And I really hated that it felt like feelings were getting brushed under the rug. It was so hard to like keep her like punished for like talking to my ex, because I wanted that friendship at times with her, and it felt like I had nothing else. So it felt like I had to tolerate the dumb she would do, because I wanted that friendship with her and I didn't want it to be weird. Does that make sense? Watch the babies and they're playing, and there's like a lot of people there, like a lot of kids. It's a nice freaking party, like a fancy party. And it's like, okay, like, this is nice. Like, okay. As we're playing with the kids, watching them, I hear someone say, Alexis. I was so scared to turn around because my heart already knew who it was. I just didn't want to turn around. I just did not want to turn around. I didn't want it to be real. I was like, no, 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 because I knew there was going to be some drama. I just knew it. So I hear it again, Alexis. And sometimes you feel like Like, that's not even my name. Is that my name? It feels so weird to hear your name called, you know? And like, okay, side note, am I the only one? Sometimes I'd be forgetting how my face looks because I don't look at myself for a long time. Is that weird? What is that? What is that? I was telling my husband the other day, I was like, I forgot how I look. And then I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh my God, that's how I look? Like, it's so weird. You know how people say that you probably have like a twin or a doubtful, what's it called? Someone who looks like you. I probably wouldn't even recognize, I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, that looks like me. No, because I don't even know, I don't even feel like I know what I look like. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's so weird. Like, I know what I look like in a picture, but I don't know. Sometimes my brain be forgetting how I look. I don't know if that makes sense. But anyways, person calls my name again, and I just choose not to respond. And I'm like, and it's a boy. Okay, Alexis, and it sounds so weird. I said it too good. Alexis, and I'm like, trying so hard to not respond. I was like, no, because I felt so freaking awkward, and I felt like people at the party were looking at me because I wasn't responding, and they knew, like, he's calling you, bitch. He's calling you. So I kept acting like I was just talking to the kids, like, oh, ha, ha, ha. Weird, okay? The kids were even looking at me like, he's calling you. And I'm like, who? I'm like, it's fine, go play. And they're like, yeah, but he's calling. I'm like, it's fine, go play. It's fine, go play. And I kept saying it, and then I'm like, okay. Probably like, you weird bitch, okay. As I'm still trying to like, okay, like act like I don't hear that someone's calling my name, acting like I don't hear someone saying, Alexis, you know? Hey! Acting like I don't hear. And then I act like I'm going to get into the jumper. There's like a jumping thing, and someone grabs me by my waist. And I just melt. I melt, and I'm like, oh. And I just turn around, and it's Joe. We did it, Joe. We did it. So it's Joe. And I'm like, oh, hey. Like, super awkward, and like acting like I didn't hear him call my name like 10, 50 million times, 11 times. And I'm like, oh, hey. And he's like, you didn't hear me calling you? And I'm like, no, that's crazy. You're crazy. And he's like, yeah, like what the hell are you doing here? And I'm like, oh, babysitting. He's like, oh yeah, duh. How are you? Like, and I'm like, oh, good. And I know how to tell him, like, I'm still mad at you. Don't you ever, and you talk to me. I hate when people that do like really stupid shit or are very like disrespectful still have the nerve to come up and talk to you, and you feel awkward like if you're the one who did something wrong. I hate those type of people. It is so weird because I don't know how to be like all the way mean, and you just feel awkward like, oh, was I, what happened? Like, was I really tripping about it, or like, is it really that big of a deal? So I feel like I didn't know how to like really act. I was just like so like confused, and so I'm like, oh yeah, I'm good. And he was just like eye contact, just like eye contact, and he had like a nice haircut going on. And so I was like really trying to like just like stay focused, you know, just like talk. And I was like, oh yeah, like, yeah, I'm good. And he was like, oh, like, good, well, like, you know, like we should like, you know, like talk, you know, like I miss talking to you. And I'm just like, yeah. And so like I like stepped back because I was getting like nervous. So like I stepped back, and he like pulled me. So I was wearing pants. You know how you have like those things open where you can put your belt? He like hooked his fingers in there and pulled me closer, and he's like, oh, careful. And I'm just like, oh, you know, freaking hella like just gushing. And so I'm like, and so I kind of like move his hands, and we're just like talking, and he's like telling me that his mom's here somewhere, and like I should like go say hi to her. And I was like, oh yeah, like I'll go say something. And he was like, yeah, like we need to catch up, you know, like there's like so much, like. And I'm just like looking at him because I'm like, are you crazy? And he's like, yeah, I know things are weird, but like it's fine, like time has passed. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, just chill, like relax, like that's like old stuff, you know. And I'm like, I don't know how to be like that. I don't know if it's because like I hold grudges super long or what, but I'm just like, I have people in my life tell me that like, you forgive that person too fast. And then I have people in my life like, oh my God, you hold grudges for so long. What's a healthy medium? Because I don't know. So we just keep talking a little bit. Sam eventually comes and like poops on the freaking reunion. And she's like, oh, hey. And he just gives her the whole, so like that. So just that. And she's like, okay. And tells me that I'm babysitting the kids and stuff, that I'm not getting paid to talk to boys. And he's like, and I'm sure it's fine. Like, they're right there. I can see them. I'm helping her babysit. Like, trying to be funny, and she didn't think it was funny. She's like, yeah. She walks over to where the peaches are, and I don't know if she went to go tattletale on me or something or what, but they are just like now staring at me. And I tell him, I'm like, you should go, because I don't want them to think that I'm not watching the kids or anything. And then he's like, no, you're fine. Like, you're chill. So we are just literally like arms crossed, just like watching the kids play. And he is just trying to talk, but he's not really saying much. It's just kind of awkward, because even if you want to act like, okay, like nothing happened, obviously a lot happened. And we can't just act like whatever. Well, I can't. Even if I want to like be nice and be cordial, I still am like hurt. I'm still like disappointed. It's just like so many like feelings, all of that. He asks me if I'm still with the ex. I'm like, yeah. And he like tells me like, well, that's disappointing. And I'm like, not really. I shouldn't have had that type of response, like if he was like a trophy or something. But it was just like, I didn't want him to think that like I was still like hung up on him, because I wasn't. He's like, well, that's disappointing. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, you? And he's like, no, just waiting. And I'm like, on what? And he just like turns around, like, on you. And I was like, He was good with words. Really, really, really good with words. But no. I wasn't gonna fall for it. I was not gonna fall for it. And the whole time, I'm like, why is Sam over there? She's probably gonna take a picture. She's probably gonna send it, because I'm traumatized. So I'm like, oh my God. So I'm making sure not to get too close, anything like that. And my thoughts, I don't know if I manifested it or what. He messages me, where are you at? What are you doing? And I said, babysitting. Why? He proceeds to text me. He's like, no, what are you really doing? And I'm like, that's what I'm really doing. Like, I'm babysitting. I could have given him more explanation and been like, I'm babysitting. Joe's right here, talking my ear. Or I should have been like, I'm talking to Joe about you. Like how he told me. Should have given him his taste of his own medicine. But I didn't want to tell him that like I was talking to him, because I didn't want to piss him off. I didn't want to start a fight, any of that. And as I'm texting him, I'm looking over at Sam, and she's just smiling at me. And I'm just like, oh, this bitch. Because that's just how she was. That's just how she was, the type of person she was, all of it. And she like got off on that. I don't know what it was. Like, she had attention. I don't know why she constantly needed more. It's like she never had enough or something. So he proceeds to call me. And so I'm like, hello? As we're talking, he's like, so where are you at? And I'm like, I'm babysitting. He's like, okay, where? I'm like, at a birthday party. Whose birthday party? I'm like, you don't know them. Look at this one. Ooh. He's like, try me. And I'm like, I don't even know them. Like, it's babysitting. And he's like, why are you lying to me? Who are you with? I'm like, I'm with nobody. As I'm talking to him, freaking Joe is like making like all these funny faces, trying to make me laugh, and like poking me, touching like my freaking stomach area. And I'm just like talking to him, like, just stop. And the ex is like, say that you love me. And so I say it. As soon as I say it, I'm looking at Joe's face. It's like I crushed his feelings or something. He's like, and like just walks off. I don't care, okay? I don't care. I'm just like, it's just too much, like too freaking much. Like I can't, like, it's so exhausting, honestly. Like, at the end of the day, I did have so many feelings for this piece of shit, so many. So he starts to like laugh and giggle like a little bitch on the other line, like, he see it again. I say that shit again, and he's just like all happy. And so I tell him like, okay, like, now do you believe me? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, so like who messaged you or what? And he's like, why did someone have to message me? I'm like, because you weren't bugging. He's like, so now I'm bugging? I'm like, you know what I mean. So I'm like telling him, and he's telling me that like nah, he just had a feeling and that he loves me and like calling me like all these nice things. And I'm like, okay, ha 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 ha. Falling for it. So I'm off the phone with him finally. I'm like, okay, great. So then I ran with the kids and I'm like, okay, come on, like I gotta go to the restroom, like let's go. So I take them back to their parents and I'm like, oh, I gotta go to the restroom real quick. Mrs. Peach finally talks to me and she's like, what were you doing talking to Joe? And I'm like, just talking to him. She's like, okay, and I'm not stupid. I know you were talking to him about what? And I was like, nothing really. Oh, so you were just over there just not talking about anything at all? So I'm seeing your mouth move and you're not talking about anything? And I'm just like looking at her. Mr. Peach just looks at her and he's like, relájate. Because it was just like, she was so angry at me for like, I don't know what reason. Like the bitch just wanted to fight. Like it was just like, okay. And I'm like, he was just asking how it was doing. So you were talking about something. So why didn't you just say that? Like, why is it so hard? Why do I always have to pull it out? Just go. And I'm like, no, okay. So I go, I ask who's there. I'm like, hey, can I use the restroom? They're like, yeah, sure. So I go up to go use the restroom because I have my pad. And, well, it's not a pad. It's the toilet paper pad. I need to change it. Like I need to freaking change it. So I go up into the restroom, take my time, and I hear a knock at the door. And I'm like, hello, in here. They don't say anything. And so I'm like, oh, okay. So I just know I have to hurry because I'm like, okay, I have to get out. So I hurry in, wash my hands, open the door, and I'm going to get out. As I open the door to get out, Joe pushes me back in, and I'm not gonna lie, y'all, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, oh my god, this is out of a movie. Like this is out of a movie. He pushes me back in and he's like biting his lip. He has a nice haircut and he's like, can we just like talk for a minute? And I'm like, sure. And I feel kind of awkward because I'm like, oh my god, I hope it doesn't smell like blood in here. I didn't go number 2 or anything like that, but I'm just like, oh my god, like I came in here for a reason, motherfucker. For a reason. He is talking to me, telling me that like he like misses me and he like, you know, it really hurt him to hear me talk on the phone. And it's just like, oh my god, like how did we get here? And I'm like, because of you. Like what do you, I was like really tripping. I'm like, damn, like is it a full moon or something? Like everyone just like be forgetting like what they be doing or what? Like it is a trip. He's asking to give him a second chance, that like if I can forgive the ex for all the he does, that like how come I can't forgive him, like he just don't know what I see in him and he just don't understand it. So he proceeds to keep trying to like talk to me, tell me like all the nice things that like I've been wanting to hear, and I just couldn't. I'm just like, no, like I can't. I'm like, no, like no. And he's like trying to like hug me and like kiss me like on my cheek and stuff, and he's like, come on, like let's just talk. And I'm like, no, like no. I was like, I gotta go back down, I don't want to hear the peaches, like no. And I'm like trying to leave, and like he literally tries to like pick me up. Poof, I just pushed him super hard because I just had like flashback moment, a Raven moment, if you will, and I got heated, y'all. He like called me a bitch like with the quickness because he was pissed. Oh, I don't know if he's pissed, but well, yeah, he was. I was like, he's all, what the bitch? Because he hit hard, like he went back hard, and I was like, you see, fuck you. And so I walked down and it was like nothing happened. I resumed like nothing, went outside, watched the kids. Mrs. Peach asked me what took so long. I told her I'm on my period, I had to change my pad, and she's like, que cochina eres, because I told her, because I'm just like, what the f, because like people were like right there, and she's like, what took you so long? And I'm like, because I needed to go change my pad. Grabbed the kids, went right back over there to like the pool area. They played and stuff. Joe did not come around me at all, and I just stood there and I was just like so freaking annoyed because I'm like, and I was just like having all these flashbacks of like walking upstairs, seeing what I saw, and I just felt like so stupid because I'm like, and the ex was being like super nice to me, so I was like just focused on that. I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna focus on this, Joe, and I just didn't even care. I was like, okay, who cares? Who freaking cares? Who cares? Who cares? So Sam comes around and she asks me like, you know, what was I doing? Why did I take so long? I basically tell her to fuck off. I'm like, Sam, honestly, fuck off. Like, I can't. I don't know what's wrong with you. I don't know if it's because like you need like my ex. What? Ew, no. Like, have you seen? I'm like, okay, whatever. Everyone always says that. Like, just leave me alone. And she like asks me like if I'm on my period or something, and then she like proceeds to like laugh because she thinks that she's so hilarious. And I just like look at her, give her the ugliest look, and I'm just like. So the kids are still having fun, playing, all of that. No biggie. They're gonna like cut the cake and eat. So we have to go sit at the tables. We go and sit at the tables. We're sitting next to another couple, and they were asking me like, oh, who are you? And I'm like, oh, like I'm like the nanny, the babysitter. And I'm like, oh, what? So like talking. It's not a big problem, not a big problem at all. We then turn to Mr. and Mrs. Peach, and they ask them, how was their vacation? And I just look dead at Mrs. Peach. Because I'm like, vacation? Bitch, someone died in the family. What are you talking about? So I'm just like looking at her and I'm like, Mr. Peach is like this, eating his food. Because I'm curious. What vacation? Like, what are we talking about? Is it an upcoming vacation or the vacation that you just got back? Mrs. Peach tries to change the subject and asks me if I can get up and give her a refill. She doesn't even answer Martha's question. I'm like, oh yeah. She's like, Alexis, can you get me a refill? And I tell her, oh yeah, in a minute. I'll go in a minute. Because I'm very curious, bitch. I'm very freaking curious as to what you are going to say. And so Martha, we'll name this lady Martha, asks again, so how was it? How was it? You guys were gone for such a long time. And I'm just like, she goes like this again, Alexis. And I just look at her because I know she knows that I am like, what are we talking about here? What? And so I'm just looking at her like, because this lady was crying, y'all. So I'm trying to think like, okay, maybe they went to the funeral. Like, I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they went to the funeral. Then they were like, you know what? Life's too short. Let's go on vacation. I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. And I really want to hear out what the other lady says. Martha looks at her. She's like, well, how was it? And she just says, it was fine. It was fine. That's it? That's all you have to say? So I look at her and I'm like, oh, like, what did you guys do? Mr. Peach looks at me where he's like, bitch, don't go there. Don't go there. You're staying in my house. Don't go there. They both look at me and I just look at them. I'm like, so what did you guys do? I'm trying to make it seem like I don't even have a problem with it. I'm very curious. I really want to know, like, what did y'all do? And was it fun? Did you guys have a great time? Mr. Peach doesn't even say anything. He gets up and grabs Mrs. Peach's cup because he's gonna go fill it up. So I'm like, okay, great. You did me a favor. I'm not gonna get up and get it. She tells her like, oh yeah, it was great. She's like, how long were you out there? She just like looks at me as she's like trying to find an answer. And I'm like looking at her because I am so annoyed. It didn't matter if I was watching the kids for a funeral, if I was watching the kids because they're gonna go on vacation. What pissed me off is how she always tried to make me feel bad, and it was a lie. Why are you gonna make someone feel bad and lie about something like that? Interesting. They talk about how they went on this vacation. It was so fun, and Alexis watched the kids. So now she's like gassing me up, and I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, and how are the kids? Like, you know, they're talking to me, and I'm like, oh, they were great. They're really not, you know, bad kids at all. And so I was just like telling them that, like, yeah, it was like no big problem. They're like, oh my goodness, like, you know, you must really trust her to leave her, you know, so long with the kids. And she's like, yeah, she's like family. And as she says that, she's like, yeah, she's like family. I'm just like looking at her, and we're smiling so hard at each other. I shouldn't have, but I did. I asked her, I'm like, oh, so was this before? Did you go to the funeral first or did you go after? Martha says, what funeral, honey? Who passed, honey? Mrs. Peach is like, oh no, I think she misunderstood me. I was like, oh yeah, maybe I did. And I just left it at that, and I got my ass up and I went to go and play with the kids because I'm just like, okay, you're weird, you're weird. So as I'm up with the kids like this, I feel like a nudge. And so I'm thinking it's Joe. I look over and it's Mr. Peach, so I do a double take and he tells me, you need to talk to me. So I'm like, okay. And then he's like, you know, it's just really, it was really hard. Something did happen. And I'm like, it's fine. Like, you guys don't have to explain. Because at the end of the day, they don't have to explain. The thing is, I just did not like how you're stressing me out. We're over here dealing with family stuff, blah, 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 blah. In Baltimore, now it makes sense why she was so upset, because she probably was going to go with them to go on vacation and Sam was acting up. So like, now it makes sense why she was even more angry. And I'm just like, damn. So he just tells me like, would have it made a difference? And I'm like, yes, it would have. And he said that they already had this like planned, and she was just really stressed out, because I was like, she was crying. Like, she was crying. And he was like, she was probably crying because she was really stressed out. And I'm like, okay, but you even told me too that you were. And then he was like, once she had told me, I know that if we would have switched it and like said something different, it would have been a problem. So it's really like not that big of a deal, because you would have watched them regardless, right? And I'm like, yeah, but that's besides the point. We were on good terms, that I probably wouldn't have wanted to watch the kids. And so that she knew that like, if she would have said something like that, you know, it'd be more believable, and I wouldn't have hesitated so much. And I just tell him, I'm like, well, that's kind of sick. Watch your mouth. Watch how you speak about her. And so I get kind of quiet, because even though I was being like disrespectful, it just like really pissed me off that they lied about something like that. And it's like, I get it, you know, people lie about things like that to like get out of work sometimes, but it like really irritated me, like how she made me feel bad for her, and I like had sympathy for her. And it was just like, party is ending and I don't see bubbles. I'm like, maybe she's trying to avoid me. I don't know. Maybe I was trying to avoid her low-key. We didn't bump into each other. So get everyone in the car. We say our goodbyes. Mrs. Peach again is not talking to me. And I'm like, okay, this makes more sense why she's like avoiding me, because she probably thinks that Baltimore told me or something like that. I don't know. So Mrs. Peach is in the car and she's like asking me if I have heard from Baltimore. And I'm like, no, I haven't, because I know we're all on the same thing of like, we are worried. So she tells Mr. Peach to stop at the apartment, that we need to check up on her. And so he's like, okay. He's like, you guys haven't heard anything? We're like, no. And I was like, I messaged her, because I did message her. I did for real this time. I did message her like, hey, are you okay? Like, no estás en la casa, like you're not in the house. So like, I was worried, because we all just had like a feeling. Sam had wrote too, and she wasn't responding to us. So we were kind of like, what the heck is going on? So we're driving there, and Mrs. Peach is like just looking at me with, because like her visor's down. Is that what it's called, the visor? And she keeps like making eye contact with me. And okay, I don't know. Y'all think I have a valid reason for like being upset about it or not? Like, I feel like I had a valid reason of being upset about it, because like, y'all lied. Y'all lied. Y'all lied. But now it makes sense that like they never wanted to answer when I called, or like the kids were trying to get a hold of them sometimes and they wouldn't answer. But it's because like y'all were partying, having fun, and like where they were getting so annoyed when like Sam was acting up was because like we were ruining like their fun time. So like, now it was just making sense. Like, y'all weren't grieving, y'all were bumping and grinding. So like, it makes sense. Anyways, so she just keeps making eye contact with me, and like in my whole head I just keep replaying everything. Like, why did you say that? Why did you say, oh, was it before or after? So I'm like upset with myself, because I'm like, why did you do this? Like, you did not have to do that. Like, why are you such an instigator, bitch? So I'm like scolding myself. I swear, like, I parented myself at times, because I was constantly like checking myself, constantly. I'm just sitting there and I'm like, and my phone goes off and it's a text message from Joe. Joe's asking if we can please talk, that he didn't want to leave the way that we did and stuff, and that he wants to leave on good terms, and that he can't stop thinking about me answering that phone call in front of him. I think I scarred the poor boy. Like, I really do, because I'm just like, damn. Where I was like, I love you. Like, and he was just like, I don't know, freaking know. So I'm geeked over the message that I'm getting from him. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. Yeah, I was low-key happy. I was like, this dude broke my heart. He broke my heart. And so it felt really good to get that kind of like, I love you, girl. So I was like, like, I felt cool, you know? But I'm going to leave it there, you guys, and I will update you guys very, very soon on what happened with the Baltimore. Te quiero mucho, you guys. Besos a todos, and I'll see you guys in my next story time. I hope you guys enjoyed today's look. I wanted to do yellow for my Tweety bird. Again, thank you so much to the Fam Bam for my Tweety bird. Again, thank you so much to the Fam Bam for the gifts. Thank you so freaking much. I cannot wait for you guys to see them in the back once I like clean all this out. And me rocking the sweater cup. Thank you so much. From the bottom of my heart, seriously means so freaking much to me. Thank you. Besos a todos, and I love you guys, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.